What's going on, fellow A-plusers? It is I, your host, Adam Perez. We are back once again to talk movies. That's right, baby. Let's talk some movies tonight. It is I, your host, joined with me, then none other than my co-host, Stewart Branscombe, certainly coming through here today. It's good to see you for another week, another set of movies to tackle, man. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing really good. This time came extra prepared because like the last 2 weeks we did this, I saw the movie literally the day of. So
Yeah.
I want to say like maybe 3 hours before we did our review. So this
Oh,
is the
wow.
first time. Like I've actually seen the movies, both of them a couple days in advance. So I saw like Ready or Not 2. I think I saw that like 2 days ago, and then Project Hail Mary I saw yesterday. So I have them sitting in my head a lot longer than the last 2 weeks, basically.
Nice, dude. Yeah, no, this is the week I did not write down notes. I'm usually come rather prepared with a bunch of notes in regards to what to talk about. But I looked at my whiteboard today and I'm like, oh gosh, I didn't put my thoughts down. So we'll see how today's episode goes. But we're gonna be talking some movies. So join us in our movie theater. You know, one of the things that I've always dreamt about having, Stuart, is my own sort of like movie slash game room, if you
Oh
will,
yeah.
in a house. I really would love that one day.
Damn, like back when I was in high school, so I did football back in high school, and so every week, every Sunday, usually we would do like kind of a football like kind of dinner, or no, it wouldn't be Sunday. Sorry, it would be on Saturday. It would be either Friday or Saturday. It would be the night before a game, and we had one of my teammates actually had that like an indoor movie theater.
Nice.
We used it to play Madden, but like after I had left, I was just like I thought so much about the things I would do if I had like my own indoor theater. Like I would have so many movie marathons like constantly. Like I would be enjoying that way too much.
Yeah, I definitely would. And it wouldn't even need to be a lot of seats. I'm talking like maybe 5, 6 seaters, so maybe like two little rows, as long as I have a nice big screen along with a great sound system. Then yeah, I'll be more than happy, man. So we'll see. Maybe one day. That's on the bucket list too.
Yeah. One day
uh
when our channel like makes it big, that'll be the
One
first
day.
thing that'll be
One
the first thing I
day.
do when we cash in like for like $1 million check. I'm getting a house with a theater.
With our one viewer right now. So yeah, one day we'll make it big, Stu. We're on our way, bro. But today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking some movies. We got two movies in particular that we're going to be diving into: Project Hail Mary, starring Ryan Gosling, along with Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, the sequel. I had not seen Ready or Not, the first one, before, but I saw the trailers for this one and I'm like, it looks pretty fun. Maybe I'm missing out on something. So I went ahead. I think it was Friday night. I think I had some time, so I'm like, let me knock this one out, the first one. So I have a reason to go ahead and see the sequel and give us something to talk about here this week. So I had the opportunity to finally check out not Project Hail Mary, Ready or Not 2 last night, I believe. So we'll definitely be talking about that with you guys here today. So Project Hail Mary, Ready or Not 2. We're going to give our non-spoiler thoughts about the movie and then really dive into spoiler heavy stuff. And then we will give you guys our final grade for the movie as well, and really where Stuart and I differed or had similarities, if you will, in regards to it. Where do you want to start at? Do you want to start off with Project Hail Mary? Or do you want to start off with Ready or Not?
I think we should start with Ready or Not, just because I feel like I have a lot more to say about Project Hail Mary.
Okay, so I might take up a little more time. All right, y'all. Let's do this then. Ready or Not 2 wind up dropping. You know what? I probably should have had up my Google information too in regards to just the cast, so I know everybody that I'm talking about here. Let me put up this cast. So Ready or Not 2 wind up coming out. After I watched the first one, I gotta say, I don't want to say I'm surprised that we wind up getting a sequel. I don't even necessarily know how much money the first one made at the box office, but I do know I had a really fun time watching the first one. And we wind up getting the second one here this time around. We've got the actress Samara Weaving, who plays Grace from the first one. She's coming back once again, but this time we get introduced to her sister in Faith, who winds up Grace and Faith. I kind of get it. And they wind up both being sort of pulled back into this game once again, having to fight for their lives. As unfortunately for them, the game is not over. As we jump into the sequel here, um, you know what, Stuart? I will say you and I don't want to say complete polar opposites on this movie. But when you gave me your reports, you were like all sevens. I died laughing. Absolutely died laughing.
So I should probably explain. Like I've been like trying to figure out how I want to do my rating scores for it, and I'm kind of going with this idea in mind. 7 is like average. It's good, basically. 7 is like kind of, I don't want to say the bare minimum, like it's a bit above the bare minimum. It's like this entertained me, and that's good. If it's like a 6, then I would say it's something that I would say is below average, something I kind of expect more from. And then if it's a 5, then that's when it's just bad. So that's how I think I'm looking at it right now. So when I say 7 across all the boards, I don't mean because it does all these things really good. I mean it just does everything to the bare minimum of what I would like kind of hope
to
for
make it
in a movie like
for
this.
you.
Yeah. Like basically the best way to describe it, if I give a movie a 7 in any kind of way, that just means that that's what I wanted from it. Pretty much, it didn't give me any more than what I wanted from it, but it gave me what I wanted.
Okay, cool. I think too, because the way our grading system is, like, sevens would technically equal a C minus, which I think for most report cards, if you take it home, it's like barely passable, right? So it's like you just passed by the skin of your teeth. So that makes sense in regards to like the bare you did the bare minimum enough to pass this course. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting as we utilize this report card a little bit more and more, just to kind of see where how we kind of view some of these letter grades. And I still, you know how people talk about having like a lead foot, like you just push it down and it accelerates. I think I have just like a positive bias against every movie that I watch, to where it's like I tend to grade my stuff on a more positive skew. I think not that at least that's how I'm starting to feel now that I have somebody else like opposite also grading the movies along with me. I started like, you had me like second questioning what I'm watching now, like damn. So it'll be interesting to kind of to learn each other and how we kind of view both of these grades. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, shout out real quick to Derpy in the house. Derpy says Ready or Not 2 equals give me more money too. Is how he's certainly Derpy certainly looking at it. Do you want to go first talking about Ready? So let me just break this down for you guys. So Ready or Not 2, if you guys are not familiar with it, is a sequel to the first one. The concept of the first one really focused on the main character, Grace, married into a very rich family. They have this sort of ritual for every marriage where whoever's getting married needs to pull a game card. And if you pull that card, you can play any game that's on the card. But the one card you don't want to pick, Stuart, is hide and seek. And that's exactly what Grace winds up having to do. And lo and behold, this game is the game where they hunt you down. You hide and they seek you until they have to kill you. If they don't kill you, something bad certainly happens. So here we come into the second movie. Clearly, Grace survives the first one. And we come to find out there's a clause, an additional clause within this game that allows this game to certainly continue. But this time, Grace is not going it alone. Her sister winds up getting involved, and they get thrusted into a brand new game of hide and seek. Stuart, I had another good time with this movie. Like I really did. Like I think it's also a case of where our expectations take us, right? Like I very much went into this movie thinking to myself, all right, I had fun with the first one. Let's see if they can kind of keep that same momentum for me. And in this regards, I thought they really did. I thought the addition to her sister, Faith, who was played by Catherine Newton in here, was a great addition. Just to have somebody that she can play opposite of her, that's not her husband from the first movie, but also has that level of like deep connection and a past and a relationship with this person. And you clearly see them throughout this movie bouncing off each other, going through whatever issues that they certainly have. And I thought that really worked wonders for intercutting between some of the action and how it really helped pace this movie in regards to giving us a lot of action, but then also having sort of this sister time as they kind of try and figure things out, if you will. So, but I thought Catherine Newton, I think, is an actress that anytime I see her in the project, I continue to get more and more excited for her. Like I think she's a really capable actress. I definitely want to check out some more of her stuff, but I thought her chemistry with Samara Weaving as her sister in here really kind of helped take what might be like maybe a mediocre script for some and kind of helped elevate it. I personally thought. I'm trying to think of some of the other things on the report card that I was a big fan of without having to pull the report card up. But while I don't think the story itself was like anything to certainly write home about, I do also love I'm a big fan of lore, and if you can kind of get deeper and find, like, give me reasons, like, why are we even making a sequel, right? Like, if you could come up with a legitimate reason within your story as to why we're even having the second movie that seems believable to me, then I'm like, yeah, totally. Like, I'm invested. So the fact that they explored a little bit more of that, I thought was really fun. The addition of some of the new supporting characters kind of worked for me. Some I was big fans of, some I had certainly had my issues with. But I thought this was a rather enjoyable sequel that by the end, I will say there was a part of me that kind of thought to myself, have we jumped the shark a little bit in regards to where this movie is at? Or is this like, or is this also a case of maybe you can squeeze one more movie out of this franchise? I don't really know. So I wasn't know how I was feeling about it, but I do know by the time I was watching this movie, the chemistry worked for me. The comedy I thought was still there. Cool action sequences. There are some moments in here though where I am like come on, like just get it over with already, right? But outside of those moments, I thought for the most part it was a relatively enjoyable movie for me. I had a fun time with it. I think maybe because maybe I wasn't expecting too much out of it, and I think it maybe for me at least over delivered from what I thought I would probably get. And I actually think I might have enjoyed this one better than the first one. But maybe that's just me. I was also a big fan of the directing work in this movie too. I was kind of surprised. I did like the music as well. And seeing people explode, bro, I mean, just like visually, it's just fucking great. Even when you expect it to know it's coming, like the fact that it happens, it's just like, yes, like whoever's doing the costume and makeup department and gets the props to play with all the fake blood, like, yeah, man, they got the coolest job on set. But overall, I enjoyed the film, Stu.
Yeah, I imagine the most fun, but also must be one of the most frustrating parts is like the aftermath. I imagine it must be really fun, like especially if you're an actor and you're getting covered in all this like corn syrup, fake blood and guts. But I also imagine the cleanup afterwards must be super annoying.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I got to imagine. And I am kind of curious too. Um, there's a costume that Grace rewears in this movie at the beginning, that a part of me is thinking to myself, did they redesign that costume, or like was it still in the props department after the first one and they're like, let's just pull it out and just wear it again? I am kind of curious. And also I will say the supporting cast really worked for me in this movie. The Elijah Wood edition, fantastic. I really had a fun time with them in this movie. And I think you mentioned something to me this past weekend about Sarah Michelle Gellar, and how you liked her in this role. I believe that's what you said, or that you were
Yeah.
impressed with her by her role. I was too. She was one of my other favorite parts of this movie as well. So I think they brought in some really fresh faces that I thought really helped push the story forward, gave Grace an additional dynamic to which she can bounce things off of in her own personal growth. The sister situation really worked for me, and the lore building behind sort of this game, and really just how deep this stuff really goes. And almost feels like there's probably another layer out there if they really wanted to do a trilogy. I don't know how much money this movie is going to make at the box office or what its budget certainly was. But for me personally, after watching the first two, I would probably see a third one, to be honest with you, because I've had fun watching both of these films.
Yeah, I don't know where they would take a third movie at this
I don't know
point,
either. Yeah, me
but
either.
I would be totally open to seeing like what direction they went. Cause kind of like you, like I thought at the end of Ready or Not One, like how would you make a sequel to this? Because everything seemed to kind of wrap up. But I think the way they did it, having there be other families involved with this kind of cult, it made a lot of sense, especially because they even referenced there being other families within the first movie too. So it does all kind of work together, the way they set it up. I think, yeah, this movie just does a lot of what you get in the first movie, but it does it bigger and it has a lot more fun with it. I think one of the things that you were talking about is a lot of the side characters and character dynamics you get in here. There are so many in terms of really good character chemistry, not only with our two protagonists, but also with just so many of the antagonists, basically so many of the people that are hunting our protagonists down. You get some really fun character moments with them. And then I think they really up their game with the when it comes to like just the overall action in this movie, the overall
Oh
like kind
yeah.
of like the stunts that you get. Because in the first one, as fun as it was for a while, it got to a point where kind of the biggest thing that was keeping Grace alive is the fact that the people hunting her down were absolute morons. But I like that in this movie you get a good mixture of it. Like part of what they kind of have to rely on is luck that the people hunting them are also kind of morons.
Yeah.
But then you also have people that are pretty confident in what they do. So I like that the movie itself doesn't solely rely on the antagonists being morons for them to like survive. There's a good mixture of both in there to constantly like kind of keep you on the edge of your seat. And then there's some just great dialogue moments. I thought I think the way that Catherine Newton and Samara Weaving play off of each other, I thought I totally bought them as like these
Yeah.
estranged sisters.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love the way their kind of like dynamic between the two of them kind of grew, and it very much played on a lot of kind of tropes that we're all very familiar with, such as the whole like once we're getting so close together, there's just that one thing that then happens that breaks us apart again,
Mm-hmm.
only for us to then make up in the very end, but I think it's just done so well here that I don't mind how tropey it gets. And speaking of tropes, though, okay, two tropes that this movie does that are some of my favorite tropes in movies. They find a way to have a basically how would I describe it? Like the main antagonist, like some of the antagonists that our characters face are essentially dark reflections of themselves in one way or another, which I thought was really cool.
Mm.
And I'll get in more details with that when we get to the spoiler section. But I love that trope where like kind of like one of your obstacles that you're facing is literally just like kind of a dark reflection of you. And then my favorite trope in this, I think, or not my favorite trope of all time, but my favorite trope in this movie, and I think my love for this came from the anime Death Note. I love Elijah Wood in this movie, just being that like neutral guy he's not really taking sides or anything. He's just there to say what the rules of this game
Yeah.
are, and then just like just announce a winner. And he's just like how he's feeling about anything, you never know, because he has like the same face going on, and it just seems like he's just there just to see what happens, and I love that. And then also speaking of the rules, one other thing I gotta say. So I've heard people talking about this movie and saying that the rules get extremely convoluted. And in a way,
Mm.
yes, but
Yes.
I think they were pretty consistent. I think they did a good job of adding so many layers to this. And it really this is gonna be a weird comparison, but it was like the first movie, I guess you could say, it feels like a very slow paced Magic the Gathering game, whereas this feels like you're watching a full-on meta duel in Yu-Gi-Oh! And so what I mean by that is that in Magic the Gathering, it's a pretty slow-paced game, but like, it's pretty easy to keep up with, whereas if you're playing modern meta Yu-Gi-Oh! It's all over the place, and the rules are purposely there to be exploited. And that's kind of like how the movie treats the rules, is that the rules are very specific, but they're also very exploitable, and I absolutely love that. The characters utilize that in this movie, both the protagonist and the antagonist, and I love that. And then yeah, I think the movie was just perfectly paced, which is why I even
Yeah.
gave that like a 7 as well when it came to the editing in this movie, because there wasn't like a single moment watching this movie where I was bored. And the only time I almost thought it was going to drag was like kind of towards the end, where I actually didn't even know if they were going to have a conclusion or if they were setting up a sequel, only for it to then finally kind of end right then and there. So I feel like maybe the ending took a little bit too long to conclude, but other than that, man, like the pacing in this movie
Yeah,
was
it was great.
absolutely great. And then last thing I got to say, because we already talked about it, but I want to talk about it one more time. I love the effects, the gore effects in this
Oh
movie.
yeah.
I
It's
I
so
thought the
good. They're so good.
yeah, the makeup, the gore effects were so great, so entertaining. And yeah, it let you know that there are actual consequences for these characters. Like even if they survive, they're not getting out of here without battle scars. Also love the costume designs. Like I love seeing Grace in her bright outfit. I think it looks awesome,
Yeah, it's a
especially like
cool
all covered in
outfit.
blood. But I
Yeah.
also really thought like face design when she had like the tank top and the katana at the end. Like I
Oh
just thought
yeah.
that looked hella badass on her.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just great, costume design there too.
Even I thought even the black gown on Grace at the end was
Oh
awesome looking
yes.
too. Yeah, with the cool crown. Yeah, it was pretty badass.
So those are all my non-spoiler thoughts of how I thought about this movie.
Would you recommend this movie for people to go check out in theaters?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I think if you've seen the first one, definitely go back and check out the second one for sure in theaters. I think you guys will have just as much fun as you did in the first one as you do certainly here. So definitely would recommend it. Shout out to Robert in the house. What's up, Robert? Appreciate you certainly coming through for us today. Let's go ahead and pull up the report card, and then we'll get into some of the spoiler talk as we go through some of these things. Is that cool with you?
Definitely.
So overall, and let me change, put this up for us both. So overall, we wind up grading Ready or Not to a C plus here. This is what I was referring to also, Stuart. Like when you gave me your grades, yours came out to a C minus, but when I looked at mine, it was like a B plus. Like I gave this movie like a B plus. I had such a good time with a lot of the stuff in here, from the sound to the directing and things like that. But I do appreciate that it equals out to a C plus. It feels like it's a nice proper medium of reality a little bit. And I am kind of curious, what is the Ready or Not players score on Ready or Not score on Rotten Tomatoes?
All right. So I'm just going to do the first one first, just for fun. So the first movie had a Rotten Tomato score. The critic score was 89%. The audience score was 78%.
Okay.
Now for the sequel, and this is a new movie, so this could change over time. But right now the critic score is 75% and the audience score is 90%. It looks like the
The
audiences
audience
are
is
enjoying it more
90.
than yeah, it looks like the audiences are enjoying it
Wow.
more than the critics in this case.
Wow. Okay. See, I don't feel so bad now about my B plus. As a fan, I don't feel so bad about it as a B plus. I feel like with our average score, we're coming a lot closer to the critic score here. I first of all, I'm kind of surprised that they didn't like this movie as much as the first one, or at least critics didn't. Did you like this one better than the first one?
Oh yeah, because as much as I like the first one just fine, I think two things for it for me, because like you, I hadn't seen it in theaters, but I did see the ending in theaters out of
Mm,
context, literally just the punchline of the movie and nothing else. So I already kind of knew what happened at the end, and I think that's what stopped me from watching it for a while. But I finally, gave it a watch, and I think knowing the ending just kind of ruined my enjoyment just a tiny bit. But then the other thing too was that I just I don't want to say I was bored at certain points. Just I didn't think certain parts of the movie were as interesting, especially because again we're just following Grace on her own, which I am invested in hoping that she survives, but without someone to play off of, she's not quite as interesting as she is in the sequel. I don't think.
yeah, I found it much more interesting, and just how much it opens up her life, some of her choices that she makes, why she made the choices that she did, how she even ended up in the first Ready or Not in the first place. It really kind of comes together and adding some, I thought, some really great kind of backstory. But all right, so yeah, C plus here. It winds up getting a final score. The I think the directing was probably one of the highest that we had in here. First off, I am hella impressed with just the beginning sequence of this movie, in the sense that it literally is the end of the first movie. And it's like the transition is so good. I barely even know where the second movie truly begins. Like in my head, I'm thinking to myself, did they refilm this? Or is it a case of they somehow like have the first couple last minutes of the first one and then somehow are able to overlay her exact performance with the same blood makeup on, and it's just like it's weaved into there so perfectly to where we have a really cool like first person POV, like looking at her as she topples over and faints, and then the ambulance people come in and put her on the stretcher, and I can see the cut from them lifting her up onto the stretcher, so I see that cut there. But then following her into the ambulance and things like that, like it's really cool just how seamless it felt. Like that whole transition from the beginning to the end certainly is for this movie. But I so for me, just from a directing standpoint, I had a fun time with that.
Yeah. I thought the same thing. Like I'm pretty sure it might have been reshot, but I would be curious like watching them side by side, seeing if it is the exact same shot, just like you suggested, like maybe they just layered it like afterwards. But yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool. I also was it answered that question I just had, like how did they take that answer when she just said in-laws, because that almost implies she did murder all of them. So and of course, yeah, that's exactly what the people that arrested her were like thinking, and I thought that was like pretty funny.
Yeah, no, to me it really made sense, right? Because it's like, yeah, like as much as we know the story about what happened, the idea of like police officers just coming in and finding a burning building and one survivor and then a bunch of bodies. It's just like, yeah, I think they would probably have some questions for you. And it does make me also wonder, like, by the end of this movie, they've got a
Mhm.
lot of questions for you. Like, where, like, maybe that's where the second one goes, like, the third one goes. Maybe it's like we finally get to the police interrogation and them trying to, like, solve this crime or something like that. Cause they definitely have some questions to be asked for sure.
It's
Just
gonna be
knocking
either
off these big families.
It's going to be either that or this is how you can really jump the shark in the sequel, is like suddenly like everything that happens becomes public knowledge, and then the entire world discovers, wait a minute, we can become rich and powerful by making deals with demons. So then
Yo,
it becomes like so like almost like borderline post-apocalyptic.
it's almost like a John Wick scenario. Like as you're walking down the block, everybody's looking at you like, "Oh, we only have to kill this person." Like
Yeah.
um but yeah, real
um
quick, I do want to get to some spoiler warnings here for you guys as we talk about the rest of this movie, but just a heads up in regards to if you haven't seen it yet, we probably will be going a little bit more detail. But yeah.
so I want to talk about just because I know I'll forget about it if I don't bring it up now. The what I meant with the reflection of themselves, like that they had to fight later on. Something I thought that was so cool is like, with the bride, you have like one of her obstacles is basically the ex-boy, or sorry, the
Oh,
ex-girlfriend
so
of her
good.
fiance. And I thought that was just great. So it was like you had like basically, and you had her in a wedding dress at one point too, just to show how like completely insane she clearly was. And I absolutely love that. It was like almost like she was kind of like fighting the version of herself that could have been, had the game not been hide and seek, had she been stuck in that family and then had to discover like all these dark truths about the family she's now a part of, like later on. That one. And then the other thing, because we had like the whole sibling dynamic, with both our protagonists, and then oh shoot, I totally forgot their names. Let me just bring up their names real quick. With Ursula and Titus,
Oh yeah.
played by Sarah Michelle Gellar and Sean Hastaway. both of which I thought did a really good job of being kind of like having a similar dynamic as our two siblings in the sense that they can't get along. But the difference is like the two of them are basically internalizing their hatred of each other compared to the sisters that just say everything out loud that they don't like about each other. But what I really liked was like kind of towards the end, it was a really brutal scene though, where you get like basically Titus versus Faith, like kind of towards the final
Oh
act of
yeah.
the movie.
Yeah.
And I love like when he's like beating the shit out of her, he's basically just like well, what's the term? There's a term for that, when like basically just like self-reflecting, like or projecting. He's
Oh,
projecting while beating the crap out of her, saying all the things he hates about her, even though he doesn't know anything about her, but all the things that he's saying is clearly about himself. And it leads to like what I thought was kind of, again, like both characters kind of had a dark reflection of themselves to fight. And I feel like in a way, Titus was kind of Faith's like kind of evil version of herself in a way. Just like in the same way the other bride was kind of Grace's like evil reflection. So I love that trope when it's done right. And I think the way they handled it in this movie with just the right amount of seriousness, but not taking itself too serious, I thought was just great.
Yeah, it was a really nice balance. I think you're right in regards to not taking itself too seriously, but also being able to have fun with it. Yeah, shout out to Maya J, I believe is her name, who played Francesca, who was the crazy ex girlfriend in here. Just a great addition. You know who was also shout out to Kevin Durand, who pops up in this movie briefly as Bill, the guy with the knives
Oh
that winds
yeah.
up hunting her down. Wasn't he? I think this is why I missed out on Ready or Not, because the first Ready or Not, I think came out almost simultaneously, or like maybe just a couple of weeks apart. Wasn't there like another, like a vampire movie where it was like a group of people had kidnapped this little girl, and they were keeping her hostage in this house, and then they couldn't escape. And
Oh
then
wait, Abigail.
was that Abigail with the ballerina vampire girl that would like kill people in the house? Okay, so that movie, I believe Kevin Durand is in that movie, if I'm not mistaken. Can you look that up? Because I think that's another movie that I think people were comparing a little bit to Ready or Not, because they too also had people exploding, if I'm not mistaken. Just violently erupting, just like that. I believe he was in Abigail.
Oh yeah, both Kevin Durant and Sammy Newton were in that movie.
Okay, so the fact that he comes back into another movie where people explode, and he's the one exploding, I just thought is absolutely perfect. Like, who's your agent, bro, to get you this to catch you this movie? But he's always like unhinged and off his rocker, and in every movie that he's in a little bit, he's always a little off. And so I always love his crazy ass when he pops up in a movie here. But we talked a little bit about um what did get me really pissed off in this movie? Ignacio, played by Nestor Carbonell, the guy with the sniper rifle. Like, bro,
Mhm.
why do you have a sniper rifle if you don't know how to use it, bro? Like, why? Like, what? The fact that there's so many instances of times when it's just like, dude, they should have just been shot a million times already. Like, running across the golf course, you can't hit them with the sniper rifle. Even the little boy with the double like automatic pistols, like he can't hit her as she's running away. There are times, like when I was saying, like just moments of unbelievability, that makes me kind of roll my eyes. And I think sometimes it's a case of maybe those scenes run a little bit too long. Like, they
Mhm.
were running across that golf course for a long period of time, and you telling me you can't hit them yet, dude? Like, it's just things like that I wish that, especially in the editing bay, that they take pay a little attention to, in regards to maybe we should shorten the scene to make it a little bit more believable. But even just the idea of like having opportunities to kill people and not taking them is like one of my biggest pet peeves. Like, when homeboys just beating the hell out of Faith in the hallway, I'm like, dude, just offer already. Like, why are you playing around? Like, stop playing games, bro. Like, just do it already. Like, those are moments that really, like, as a viewer, frustrate me, because then I don't want to say it completely takes me out of the movie, but I do roll my eyes in those movies when you have opportunities and you don't take them when the story needs you to take advantage of them.
Yeah, it depends. Like for me, I think I used to hate that trope like a lot more like years ago, but I think like over the years, and maybe it was because I like one of the movies that I'm writing involves a character who kind of has that mindset. I've started to become more forgiving of movies as long as it makes sense for like the specific character. Again, like I'm going with the idea that like half of these people are actually really competent, the other half are like complete morons, and so
Yeah.
that's why, even though yes, I feel like at least one of those bullets should have hit them at least somewhere, like maybe shot their leg or something. It didn't really seem that hard for me to believe that this guy didn't know how to use a sniper rifle, especially because they show he didn't even properly have the clip in the
Well, they
very beginning.
and they also, and I guess it's not like, I don't think they bring the weapons. I don't think they brought the weapons with them, or maybe they did.
I think
I
he did. I think he brought the
He
weapons
brought
with
the weapon with
that
them,
gun in
because I know they
particular with
said
him.
they had to utilize weapons from the time period that your parents, like your family joined
Yeah.
into it, right?
And so I
Um,
think they were implying he was probably one of the more newer members because that
Newer
gun looked
members.
way more modern than any of the other weapons.
Yeah, you're probably right in that regards. We did talk a little bit about maybe some of the rules being a little bit convoluted.
Hmm.
I can see that to a certain extent, but I also appreciated how, like, there were clauses to it. Like, even though maybe they weren't necessarily mentioned at first, but then there's like maybe one or two clauses that are brought up in this movie where they like look at Elijah Wood's lawyer character and he just like nods, it's like, okay, so like it just I think he did a really good job personally of setting up the rules and the history. But even for those moments of it being convoluted, when you do ask the question of like, wait, can they do that? Elijah Wood's character seemingly was always there to kind of answer or confirm that for you as a viewer, which I think really helped.
He was basically the referee of the whole thing.
Yeah, 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 he really was.
I think one of my favorite also with him, because he didn't even tell the person not to do it. He just like simply asked, "Are you sure you want to?" Almost like he himself didn't know what would happen. But when like one of the people like were on their phones and they were about to text the location of where Grace and Faith were at, and right before hitting the send button, you have Elijah Wood just over his shoulder going, "Are you sure you want to do that?" I love how he didn't tell him not to. He just asked him, because it was almost like Elijah Wood himself didn't know what would happen, and he was just kind of like giving him a warning, but not necessarily trying too hard to stop him.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I do wonder whatever happened to Homegirl's wife that bailed on him. I'm actually kind of surprised that her bailing on him didn't cause them to automatically die and explode in that. I would have looked at that as kind of like leaving the course and forfeiting things. You know what I
I
mean?
I don't think it works the way in the sense of if you leave the area, you forfeit. I think it just comes down to if you don't kill if this person doesn't die, then you're probably gonna pop, which means very like that would have made for a hilarious like end credit scene where we just see her somewhere
Driving or just
like
hanging out.
driving, picking up something from the store with her newfound wealth, and then right before getting rung up.
Yeah, because I'm assuming she did explode at some point in
Yeah,
time
because
based off of the ending.
she didn't
She didn't get the
dismiss
ring.
herself from the family. She became the
Uh-huh.
head of the family, which means she would theoretically still be a part of it. So I think she would still pop like
Yeah,
everyone else.
I think she probably would have popped. So it does make me question, like, if we were to get a third one, where would we even go from here? I don't even know how much money this movie made this week. It definitely had some stiff competition with the next movie we're going to talk about here in a little bit, in Project Hail Mary. Maybe I'll look that up real quick. But just as a refresher for anybody, if you're joining us late, our report card for Ready or Not player. I don't know why I keep saying player two. For Ready or Not, here I come. A C plus here. So one, I think it came out to, I think after our grades, it was like a 78%, I believe is what we gave it on average between the two of us. And it lines up there very much with the critic score, but audiences certainly seemingly enjoyed it a lot more. And it definitely a film that we certainly would recommend, especially if you've had the opportunity to see the first one for yourself. So definitely passable, enjoyable, fun film. Didn't necessarily disappoint, but maybe needs improvement on some things, or at least giving us what you probably would expect a Ready or Not movie would certainly give you. But enjoyable to say the least. Let me see. Ready or Not to box office mojo. I don't even know. Can you see what the budget was? I don't know if it's gonna. Ooh, yikes! This movie's only made $11 million so far at the box office. That's some stiff competition though, going up against
Yeah.
Project Hail Mary.
So okay, so it doesn't need. Luckily, it just needs to stay in theaters for a little bit because the budget was only $14 million. So
Oh,
I
okay.
think it should be fine as long as it's in theaters for at least like a month. I imagine that yeah, most people because when I went to go see Project Hail Mary, most of the other auditoriums are pretty much empty. I think that was just the big movie everyone wanted to see this weekend.
Yeah, the first Ready or Not made $57 million on a $6 million budget. So they did up the budget for this movie. You said the $14 million. And right now it is sitting at 11 million. So we'll see how it winds up doing. But again, if you were a fan of the first one or even curious to see what the second one certainly might be, definitely go ahead and check it out. And if you do want to see this one, I would highly recommend you check it out. Check out the first one on streaming currently. Check that out and then dive right in because I think this is one of those few movies that I think do a really good job of connecting the two of them. Like when this movie is released digitally, like you could probably easily watch these movies back to back and just not stop, Stu.
Yeah, definitely. I think this would actually make for a great double feature.
It really would. It really would. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts on Ready or Not too if you've had the opportunity to see it in the comment section box or live chat below. We love talking with you guys in regards to movies. So now that is wrapped up, so yeah, I guess we'll do the same thing for Project Hail Mary. Give some overall thoughts in regards to the movie itself without giving too much away. Maybe go through some of our grades, highlight some things, and then get into some spoiler discussions. But let's kick this off, man.
Real quick though,
Yeah, what's
before
up?
we start the review, I got to vent a slight frustration going into the theater.
Ready or for this movie?
So not for the movie, but for the movie theater experience.
Okay.
Yeah, not the worst, not the worst. I think I might have overhyped it a little bit too much there, but one thing I do find funny. So the two main theaters that I tend to go to are usually Alamo Drafthouse or Apple Cinema. Occasionally, I also like to go to a couple other small indie theaters around in the neighborhood whenever they're doing like event movies. And so because of that, I'm so used to trailers being like 15 minutes long. I think that's usually like kind of the good amount of time to have for trailers personally. Yeah. So this movie though, we went for Project Hail Mary. We went to go see it at an AMC theater because they had a specific type of projector. I can't remember. It was like I think because it was a projector that didn't use a lamp, like it had some advanced coloring towards it. I don't remember the full like description of how it worked, but that was basically our motivation for wanting to go to this theater. So we went there. It's so bizarre to me that 30 minutes, right? These trailers are 30 minutes at AMC theaters, and people still managed to come in late to this movie. Like that's just unbelievable. And it wouldn't be the worst if there was room between the seats and everything, but there isn't. It's pretty cramped. So like having to like kind of constantly move back in my chair so people can like pass by. That's just man, that was just slightly annoying to me. But the real annoying part too was that there was like also a thing that happened like halfway through the movie, like a group of 5 came in and then they started arguing with the people in front of us for being in their seats, even though I'm just like, dude, you guys are halfway through the movie. Even if they are in your seats, you've lost all right basically to complain about that.
Yeah, dude, you don't even know what's going on in the movie anymore at this point. Just go get another set of tickets, bro.
Yeah, exactly. But thankfully, I think what happened is they either got the wrong theater, the wrong time, the wrong something. I'm pretty sure the people who were claiming that the other people were in their seats were the ones that were incorrect, because once an employee came in because of all the ruckus, looked at the tickets on their phone, and then basically escorted them to like outside the auditorium. So I assume to the correct theater, or basically to let them know, hey, this is the wrong theater or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see those experiences as often as I certainly used to. I can't remember what movie it was, but I did see I did see that happen one time with a group of people, and I'm just like, like the group that was there originally. I'm like, I don't think you guys are supposed to be here. Like I don't necessarily know about that. And then the people come in claiming that they were their seats. But yes, in the world of assigned seating now that we're caught up to modern industry when it comes to movie theaters. I don't feel like I see them very often, but yeah, when I do see them, I'm like, come on, one of y'all a bunch of dumbasses. Like, just look at your tickets again. Like, come on, figure it out, guys.
Exactly.
Shout out to Kiki and Luca in the chat with us today saying Hail Mary was amazing. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about here with you guys today. Project Hail Mary, the new Ryan Gosling film that wind up being released, adapted from a novel, Project Hail Mary, which I haven't read, but I believe it's from the same author that did The Martian, if I'm not mistaken. This movie is also directed by Lord and Miller from their Lego movie fame and Into the Spider-Verse fame. The live action film here for them. Also 21 Jump Street, I believe you had mentioned before, Stewart, too. This movie is written by or adapted by Drew Goddard. And this is the movie that I think is crushing it at the box office right now, getting heaps of praise. Stuart and I both had the opportunity to go ahead and see this movie, man. I had a good time with this one, Stu. I really did. I'm going to let you kick us off, though, in regards, since I kicked off Ready or Not. Let us know some of your thoughts in regards to Project Hail Mary, man. What'd you think about this film?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm gonna be
Hold on. Before you start, real quick, I guess maybe we should a brief summary, right?
oh
For
yeah.
those of you who are not familiar with Project Hail Mary, it's a concept of it's one of those like a world-ending movies, right? Like we're not going to survive, somebody help us, sort of thing. And you wind up getting Ryan Gosling, who is in fact I believe he's a high school teacher in here.
No, middle school, like even
Middle. That's
yeah.
right. Was that fifth grade or something like that? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, middle school teacher who gets thrust into the government here, coming to ask him for help in regards to saving them. Apparently, the sun is dying, not necessarily just their sun, but all the suns in the known galaxy, with the exception of like one star. And so they need him to figure out what's going on, save us, go on this expedition, and save humanity on what is seemingly a suicide mission. Thus, Hail Mary. And in the process of going out there, he winds up, and I guess all this stuff is in the trailer, bumping into an alien, and he has to team with him in order to go ahead and save not only his world, but their world as well. And voila, Project Hail Mary. Stuart, go. What'd you think, bro?
So, you know how much I love Star Trek and just sci-fi in general. And I think that this movie embodied everything that I absolutely love with the potential of the type of stories you can tell with sci-fi. Because not only do you have like some really cool, like, partially educational, then of course, a lot of, made up elements as well when it comes to science and overall astronomy. But you had like enough of it was grounded in reality to where it's like you could buy all the sci-fi stuff that they introduced because everything leading up to it seems grounded enough in what we already know today. This is something that I think they did really well with the Martian as well. Like I'm sure if I talk to someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson, they'll still be able to like point out things that this movie and then the Martian were to have gotten wrong, but it gets enough right for the general audience to be able to watch this and go, okay, this is easy to follow along with. As opposed to like kind of movies like I think one example, I actually think this was a movie that was so bad it changed cinema for the better. There was a movie called The Core, and it was basically which one I'm talking about.
It was in the middle of the earth.
Yeah, it was a movie where the science was so bad it literally changed movies going forward, because after that people like they got so many letters from different scientists like going, no, this is not okay. You cannot put like this kind of misinformation into like $1 million into like $100 million project. So because of that, now movies that tend to be more focused on sci-fi tend to put a lot more effort into making sure the science is at least somewhat accurate. Sorry, that was a long tangent there. But apart from that, something that this movie also gets right, I think, one of the things is like, I think we get some really good performances, some great, incredible visuals, as you probably saw from the score that I gave you. Very much like it kind of feels like you're watching a more optimistic version of Interstellar at times with some of the visuals that you kind of get from this. They both have like kind of that similar thing of our world is dying. We need to send you out there in space to, on a project that doesn't even seem likely to succeed because we've got like zero options. So you got that setup, but I think like in this, whereas like Interstellar, where I'm constantly like getting more and more depressed after every failure. With this, it's like I like that Ryan Gosling, his character anyway, seems to look at failure as like an opportunity to constantly like improve, basically. And then I also just love the fact that we can get this alien creature in this movie as well. I don't think this is a spoiler because this was in the trailer, and we get him and this alien creature that, of course, can't speak the way we do, and they're both trying to learn to communicate with each other back and forth. Maybe if there was like a nitpick that I had, and I think it just comes down to the fact that this is adapting a book, and a book has a lot more time to go into like specific details. I do think that like a lot of the montages in terms of like with Ryan Gosling and the alien like learning to work together felt a little bit rushed at times, but I also get it because this movie is already extremely long. So I get why they kind of had to make these
Yeah, it's almost
shortcuts.
3 hours, right? Like
Yeah.
2:45 or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Like it was cutting close to 3 hours, which I actually didn't expect from a movie that was like very much this, that was clearly kind of going for like I want to say it was really going for like kind of a family audience. So you
Yeah.
really don't expect these type of movies to be like that long.
Did you feel it? Did you feel like, "Oh, this is a long movie?" Like, is it in a bad way, or do you think it could have been tighter? I'm kinda curious how that made you feel.
I didn't feel it until the end of the third act.
Yeah,
That was where it almost
yeah.
started to feel like Lord of the Rings in terms of how many endings we're getting to this movie.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I
so
can see
that
that.
was when I was like, okay, can we kind of hurry this along now?
Mhm.
But other than that, no, I actually like throughout most of the movie up until, and that's probably why I gave the editing like 1 point down from a 7, and I gave it a 6. Is just because of that like last act just kind of feeling like it really dragged on for a little bit because before that, I thought like the pacing was really good, and
Yeah, I
I
like the
loved a
pacing.
lot of the extended shots that we got in this too. Another thing I wasn't a fan of editing wise was like they do the whole like not telling a story completely linearly, and I kind of feel like for this one it didn't really enhance the story as much as it could have. I specifically, there's a reveal that I won't get into yet that happens from the flashbacks in this movie, and I feel like that reveal wasn't significant enough to save it for the time in the movie that they saved it for. Especially because I think most of us watching the movie kind of figured out what happened like pretty earlier before the big reveal. Visual effects, though, I gotta talk about how amazing these
Oh,
look
yeah,
because
gorgeous.
the lighting, the absolute like the fact that apparently none of this was done with or there were like as few shots with green screens as possible.
There's no
Um,
green screen, I believe he said.
no green screen.
I'm
Oh
thinking he
my
said no green
gosh.
screen, yeah.
That is incredible. The puppeteering for the alien I thought was great. You rarely get alien puppets as often as you used to. And I talked about the performance from Ryan Gosling being able to act alongside a puppet with not too many people to work off of. Incredible. Oh, and then last thing I'll kind of say is that a lot of times I feel like this is such a weird trope where it's like the government needs to go for someone who's working kind of like a smaller job, because like I feel like these type of movies always want to make kind of like the little people feel like something so much bigger. So of course they go for the middle school teacher, to for this project to save the world. And oftentimes in these movies, when they do that trope, I rarely buy the government actually going to like this very specific person, like Armageddon, for example. I do not buy the government like specifically going, we need oil drillers to
Yeah.
help us with this. I do not buy that at all. But the way they set up his character as a middle school teacher and them approaching him specifically, especially with him not being the first choice and not even being the only choice, him just proving through his skills that he's the most qualified. I think the way it happened in this, and it all happened from a thesis that he wrote, I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was a great way to take your average Joe and put him into a larger than life story compared to like how we've seen it done in previous movies that try this trope. So yeah, this was an incredible movie, and I think it's currently my second favorite of the year so far.
Ooh, it's March, bro. I mean,
Oh
no,
yeah,
but
that's
then
so
again,
yeah, that's
no,
not the
no, no,
biggest
no, no,
thing,
no.
but yeah,
I can't say that. I can't say that because you know what movie came out March last year also?
huh?
Sinners.
Oh, that's
and
true. That's
and that
true.
and that movie stayed with me all year long. It's my favorite movie of the year. So I can't blame you if you already feel that way about this movie too. I
Oh,
was
I'm so
oh
sorry. One
no, go
last
for it.
thing. I thought I finished all my non-spoiler thoughts, but I have one more non-spoiler thought. Going back to my love of Star Trek, one thing I love about Star Trek is the optimism. And despite the fact that this movie begins with all hope being lost, and literally, doing this in literally in the title as a Hail Mary, this whole thing. I never like felt depressed watching this. Like there was just
Mm.
something about Ryan Gosling's charisma, the way he has his chemistry with Rocky in this movie. I always felt hope watching this, compared to, and this is, keep in mind, I love Interstellar, right? But Interstellar is depressing as hell. So it's such a fun contrast to Interstellar, like a movie with a very similar premise, but this one takes the more Star Trek route where I'm constantly feeling hope all throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, I think that speaks to Lord and Miller's directing style. I think kudos to whoever the writer of Project Hail Mary certainly was. But also I think yeah, just a duo of director and actor too and Ryan Gosling. It's a reason why I think Ryan Gosling is such a fantastic actor. And while I think Lucasfilm really really won out here in getting him for Star Wars Starfighter because his stock, I mean, he's already a great actor, so anytime you attach him to a project that you know it's something that you got to pay attention to, but now coming off of Project Hail Mary, you know people are going to be excited to see him again, and now he's about to be in a Star Wars movie, and you know that they probably got Ryan Gosling, I don't want to say on the cheap, but probably cheaper than what they would probably get him for even now. With how I think Project Hail Mary might even, I know it's only March and we literally just had the Oscars. But who knows how well this movie could potentially do as the rest of the year certainly turns around. So who knows where Ryan Gosling will find himself, but he's going to be in a Star Wars project, and I know Lucasfilm got to be happy after this one for sure. You gonna
Oh
say
yeah.
something too?
I was just like wondering, like I wouldn't be surprised if this movie was part of like Ryan Gosling's deal. Like, yeah, I'll do Star Trek or Star Wars Starfighter, but I also really want to do this adaptation that I hear you got Mark and or sorry, Phil
Lord and
and
Miller.
Chris working on.
Yeah, I
Speaking Okay,
okay.
sorry, real quick. Speaking of Lord and Miller, something I find really funny is looking at when I went to go see 22nd Jump Street in theaters. Never in a million years would I think, man, these guys are going to make a movie that people are going to be comparing to a Christopher Nolan film.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I'm like, give them a Spider-Man movie already, please. I hear people already. Apparently, they got a pitch for a Flash movie that they just talked about today. That they said they're going to keep to themselves. They don't want to let people know what their idea is, just in case if they do ever get the opportunity to make it. So, and coming fresh off of Project Hail Mary, it's like, dude, I think you guys just opened up a whole bunch more opportunities for you guys, whether it be Spider-Man or something in the DCU. Like, yeah, definitely, their name is definitely going to continue to grow here. And now they also got Beyond the Spider-Verse that's going to be dropping sometime next year as well. So a lot of reasons to be excited for their career and their trajectory even further. But their collaboration, I think, with Ryan Gosling just did a marvelous job on this movie. You know, it's we'll talk a little bit more about it when we get into the spoiler aspect of it, but you talked about the pacing for the movie.
Mhm.
That's where I think I was kind of fond of the editing in this movie. I did like even though it was, I do have issues sometimes when movies do that in regards to we're in the present, then we're in the past, then we're back to the present, then we're in the past, but they usually tend to, I thought anytime that they went back or forward, it always built upon each other and then kind of revealed a little bit more of the story. And I think I know what you mean by the ending of this movie. That some people probably saw coming. I didn't. And
Oh,
and
okay.
so for me, I think in that regards, the editing actually worked because there was a part of me that as I'm watching this movie, while I'm enjoying it, I'm feeling like I need a little bit more from it. And I think the final act of that movie really delivered and kind of like put all the pieces together for me to really appreciate the movie more than I think I originally did just before it was getting ready to be over. I mean, visually, this movie is incredible. Especially if you've heard the interview of Lord and Miller talk about no green screen. I mean, this is truly like movie magic at its finest. And as I'm watching it, I'm just thinking to myself of like all the models that they probably had to design, some of the cool camera work, and just like from a technical visual perspective, like how they came up with some of the shots that they certainly did. So I was definitely blown away by the visual effects. The movie, the music itself, I was actually a really big fan of. Found myself getting a little bit more invested in the movie and feeling more immersed because of how great the sound was. The directing, some of the shot sequences and like the way that they begin some of their sequences in this film were rather interesting. Whether that be some of like the sideways angles, and then eventually correcting,
Mhm.
playing around with gravity, and the different forces, and the camera constantly moving as the ship turns or whatever the case may be. So some really fun sort of like directing techniques that I thought really worked for this movie. But it's interesting too. Like I am as a big of a fan of Ryan Gosling as I am. I'm glad that you brought up the idea of like, because sometimes I can be critical of actors that need to perform like on their own when they don't have somebody to kind of bounce themselves off of. We saw it kind of work really well in what we just talked about in Ready or Not. But there are aspects of this movie where it's just Ryan, and I'm just like, well, how much of a performance can he truly give at certain times? But you're right, his relationship with Rocky, and the idea of like just acting off of him, I think is just kudos to Ryan Gosling having just that level of imagination and talent in order to perform opposite Rocky, but then also just the puppeteering work and stuff, and just growing that bond and stuff. Like when I see Ryan Gosling in this movie, I'm like, dude, I cannot wait to see him in the Star Wars movie where everybody around him is practically an alien or a robot. Like he does just have that type of charm and improvisation and just charisma about him that you can literally put him in any movie, in any situation, and he can adapt to it so incredibly well. And I think he did that. Like even before Rocky, we got the cool little bond between him and the guard that was watching over him in this movie too. And he any scene that he's in, whoever he's working opposite on, I just thought he had a really great connection to in this movie. So I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed what this movie was. I think there's a part of me. I think there's a part of me that I'm, even though I graded it as high as I did, there is like God, people are gonna hate. I don't know why I have like an underwhelming aspect to this movie for me. I don't know, maybe because I had such high expectations. I did read a lot of like first reactions to this movie. And while the movie did impress me in certain ways, I think the weakest link for me probably was the writing. Um and not to be like, oh, the writing was terrible, but I just don't know if it was as there as I wanted it to be. Um and I don't know what it was missing though, Stu, to be quite honest with you. So I think individually, I think I graded this movie an A. It was pretty close to being an A plus for me personally. But I think what kept it from being an A plus was the writing, just because I may have a couple of critiques here and there. Maybe as we talk about it a little bit more, I'll kind of dive into them. Um, but I wanted to walk out of this movie like, holy shit, what did I just watch? And I just I as high of a score as I gave it, I still just walked away with like, yeah, that was as good as I expected it to be, you know. So
Mhm.
I don't know what it is, but maybe as we talk a little bit more about it, we can dive into that.
I think like that was kind of the big difference. I think we went into this movie with very different mindsets because
I think
like I
so.
knew that there was hype around this movie. But for some reason, even though this movie on paper had a lot of things that I normally gravitate towards, when it comes to a good sci-fi film, there was just something about the trailer that didn't hook me as much as it kind of hooked a lot of other people. So I kind of went into this movie expecting to enjoy it, but not to be kind of blown away by some of the visuals the way I was, to not be blown away by the performance that we got. And I didn't expect it to be as emotionally gripping as it was. And I think it did all these things that I just wasn't expecting of the movie, and it did them so well. I think that's why like I came out of this movie like, surprised. Like I think I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to.
I think that's what it was, bro. I think I went to this movie thinking this movie's gonna make me cry, dude. And then I didn't cry.
Hmm.
I didn't shed a tear.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't share a single tear. I'm sorry. Crystal in the house. What's up, Crystal? Appreciate you certainly coming through. Oh my god, I'm gonna watch Project Hail Mary tonight, so I'm gonna tune out. I totally feel
Probably
you.
smart because we're about to
Probably
get into
smart.
spoilers.
We're about to get in the spoilers. But hey, it's always good seeing you, Crystal. You're more than welcome to hang out with us anytime, any place. We're going to be hanging out soon for our Mall Shadow Lord reviews in a couple of weeks. So yeah, let's get hyped. But getting back to Project Hail Mary, I guess let's reveal our score to the audience at home here. Final grade between the average between the both of us. We wind up landing on an A minus. I believe the final grade, Stewart, was something like 89.58. And so I says, I'm just gonna round up, and we got a 90. So an A minus, score of 90 here. Let me remove this banner so you guys can see our legend at the bottom, so you see where this lands at. So yeah, it was like 89.58 or 58. So I was like, yeah, let me round it up. And we have a 90% at an A minus here. The highest scores, the VFX work, we were highly impressed with. Sound, we were impressed with. Directing, I think the both of us were certainly impressed with as well. And then as well as the acting. I had my editing a little bit higher than you did. I think you did mention you gave it a 6, so that did bump it down to a 7.9. And then the writing, I think you might have given an 8. I think I gave an 8.5, and it averaged out to a 8.25 there. So for people that don't know, like for instance, the 9, if we put it in percentage wise, that's a 90. 8.25, you're looking at an 82%. So a B minus, could bump that up to a regular B if you want to, just so people understand how to read the scorecard. Editing 7.5, that would be 75%. C for that, with an average score of A minus there. Stuart, anything you want to point out or talk about?
Yeah, so
Should this
I
be the
guess
spoiler part or no?
yeah, or I don't really have too much to say in terms of spoiler, because a lot of my favorite things about the movie I can actually kind of say without spoiling too much. But yeah, so I want to mention one more thing when it came to the VFX and animation, and because I kind of briefly mentioned that I really enjoyed the lighting. I think I want to kind of specify more. One thing that I really liked were the vibrant colors that we get with some of the cool shots that we get of Ryan Gosling in space, especially when he's on top of what did they ended up calling that planet? Like Adrian, right? Because they ended up naming it
Yeah,
after Rocky's
Rocky's,
girlfriend.
yeah.
Speaking of which, I love, okay, sorry, since we're into spoiler territory, I can go ahead and say this, that he ends up naming the alien
Oh no, wait, what?
Rocky.
Oh
Huh?
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
oh yeah, yeah. So he ends up naming the alien Rocky, like in the trailers, but it's based on the movie Rocky. And so because of that, when the alien mentions that he actually has a mate at home, they end up calling the mate Adrian from the movie Rocky as well. So because of that, the planet that they discover, they decide to name it after Rocky's mate, and so they call it Adrian something, I believe. But regardless, I love the visual of like Ryan Gosling, like when he's floating above the planet, and you get like this beautiful backlight. I'm a sucker for backlight, because I love me some noir and that kind of stuff. And so the way to utilize it here, especially with the vibrant colors of the planet, I just thought looked absolutely incredible. That was just one shot in the movie that really stood out to me, and I really wanted to talk about it like at some point in this review. So I think the spoiler section was the perfect point to bring that up.
Yeah, I guess I will talk a little bit about the editing and how this movie really kind of came together for me in general. You know, um, you know, I always had asked myself watching this movie, how the hell did this man get into space? Like, how did he even end up in this place to begin with? First off, I mean, imagine waking up from a coma only for you to find out you're effing alone. Like the fact that like
with no memory of your own identity.
yeah, like memories coming back to you as you're in space trying to figure out what you're supposed to do next. I mean, what a situation to kind of find yourself in. But you know, the ending of this movie to reveal to you that he never wanted to go in the first
Mhm.
place. Like you could not get him on this ship. And the fact that they just shoved him on against his will, I thought was really kind of eye-opening and interesting to me because I you know, it is the concept of bravery I think really works for me in this movie. And the idea that like not all heroes necessarily look the same, you know, like we everybody finds their sense of bravery in certain things, um um and that heroes don't necessarily have this traditional arc that you normally would expect, right? Like there's a part of me that as I'm watching this movie I'm thinking to myself, okay, what happened for him to go on this ship? Like, what event happened to where he himself decided, I'm going to do this for the good of the world? You know, I'm going to do this to save people. Like, I was waiting for that hero moment, um, for him to step up and be like, yes, I'm going to go on the, and it never came. And it never came. And to find out how it happened, how he put himself on there, I thought was like the fact that they put him on there. I just thought it was really brilliant that here's a guy who never saw himself as a hero. You know, there's a moment even in here too when it's just like he's asking these people like, why are you doing this? Like, what is it that you're fighting for or trying to save? And everybody's got answers, but he's literally like alone. He doesn't have anybody. And there's a moment in the movie where he's talking to Rocky and they're talking about their significant others and they talk about like, you know, the other person, like, did you have anybody? And he's like, yeah, I did have somebody, but this Mark or whoever took her, you know, we all hate Mark or whatever, Mike, whatever his name was, we all hate him now. But you know, a part of me, as we get into the flashbacks, I'm literally waiting for a moment where he like thinks about her and you know, remembers the love that he has for her. And like, despite them not being together, he's gonna fight for her, right? Like he's gonna, you know, he's got something to live for some, you know, something to save now. That moment never happened, you know? So I'm like, Joe, when is this moment gonna happen for this guy? And it never happens for him before he goes onto the spaceship. And I thought the reveal was absolutely fantastic at the end because it did answer some things for me. And it made his journey of it to me it made his journey of finding that bravery the moment he was able to find somebody worth fighting for. And in that regards, you know, Rocky, you know, trying to save his life or trying to go back for him sort of at the end of the day, being able to find your bravery in things, um whether that be for people or whether that just be sort of like just in the moment that you're in. But I don't know. I just thought that the theme of bravery, the theme of regardless of how he went on the ship, by the time he got off, well, I don't want to say off, well, yeah, technically by the time he gets off of it, you know, his character journey of having finally found somebody worth fighting for and understanding maybe the bigger scope of things outside of just himself, you know. And that really worked for me in this movie a lot.
Definitely. Um, I think that like even though I saw it coming, it was still a great reveal. I would have just done it slightly earlier in the movie, but I think that, you know, you're absolutely right because like you know, you're so used to the trope in movies of I don't even want to call it a trope. It kind of feels like an almost like a mandatory moment where you have to have the character getting their call to adventure and they have to, in order to move the plot forward, most of the time they have to accept that call to adventure. And so what's interesting, so it's like you kind of had him accepting the call to adventure, but his acceptance was to help teach other scientists, you know, what to do once they're out in space. His acceptance wasn't to go out in space himself. So that's what I like, is that's what they had to kind of like go through in the flashbacks, is tell us like how he got there. And it wasn't because he accepted it, it's because he was captured there. there. I think for me, the moment I saw it coming was like the moment you got the explosion, you had the sign the sorry, not the scientist, the person who was like kind of the head of the whole project, like basically talking about the situation as it is now and how they're not going to be able to get enough scientists like out in time, at least not any that he'd be able to teach what he needs to teach to them out in time. So that's when they suggest, sending him to space. And I think the moment I knew he didn't have a choice in the matter was when he talked about, I don't have any training, and the astronauts themselves in this movie that's taken itself incredibly seriously and is very grounded, they're saying, oh no, that's not a problem at all. The moment they said that, in my head I'm suddenly like, he doesn't get a choice in this. The moment they're trying to downplay the training to be an astronaut, that was when I'm like, oh, he's going into space whether he wants to or not.
I mean, but my man got on the ship and he seemingly knew like what he was doing the whole time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, besides maybe the piloting that he definitely had to kind of work on, but other than that, my man's like flip. I need to flip that. I mean, he had it all figured out.
He was good at adjusting, but I think it came down to because they show him looking through the book though as he's like doing all of that. So I do have one nitpick, and apparently this was addressed in the book. But one nitpick that I did have though with the movie's writing is that he wakes up and his crew is dead, very similar to Planet of the Apes, but I don't remember an explanation as to how his crew died when they were like, traveling. Why it is that like they ended up dying of old age, or not old age. I think it was probably like starvation or something. Like why they died in their coma, but Ryan Gosling's character didn't. So I thought that was kind of weird that they never explained that in the movie, when apparently they do have an explanation for it in the book. And it had something to do with like the medicine used for the induced coma was something that only his immune system could sleep through, whereas it killed the others or something along those lines. If anyone watching has read the books, let me correct me if I'm wrong, please. Especially if they do explain it in the movie, because if they did, it totally went over my head. That was like my.
I don't think they did. I think I don't think so.
Okay, cool. So that wasn't just me that didn't get that. So yeah, that was like the one thing. It's like I'm okay with it starting out that way. I would have liked it to be explained as to how that happened. But yeah, I think even though I knew it was coming, it was still like such a heartbreaking moment, because it's like funny because like the logic side of you is like saying, dude, just go on this trip, because it's either you make this heroic sacrifice or you and everyone else die. But of course, that's a very objective, like I'm an audience person watching this. I'm not looking at it through his perspective at all kind of a way. So I just love his hesitation, just felt so human basically. And I think that's what worked about the whole scene for me. So even though I still saw it coming, I still got kind of like you mentioned, you didn't get too emotional during this movie. I did. Even though I saw that scene coming, I was still kind of like, oh, this is hard to watch, because you're sending someone into space who clearly does not want to go there, who clearly does not think that they're ready for this. But I also just really love the fact that they had all this trust in him in the first place.
That was kind of cool to see. Yeah.
I mentioned earlier in this review, like I made fun of Armageddon for the whole it's easier to train drillers to be astronauts than it is to train astronauts to be drillers. In this particular case, it made sense, because the very specific things he has to teach people is something that he could do, but not with the time crunch that they had. And so it does, like for this one, I'm going to say that it made sense with what they had technology wise. The fact they were able to put them in an induced coma to begin with, it made sense why that was the simpler solution than having him train a whole new science team. I think they covered the ground really well in that case.
Yeah, I wanted to cry in this movie and it just never happened for me, bro, unfortunately. I think it's because of the lightheartedness aspect of the movie so much. There's a lot of laughter in here and really a lot of great chemistry that sometimes I mean, I don't know if it was like moments just didn't hit me the way that I wanted to, because I was expecting another joke or another laugh, within the next couple of minutes, or just the fact that it just it was just really lighthearted in nature, I thought at times. So I don't know. I wanted to cry, like I wanted to feel bad for Rocky. I'm like, sorry, bro. Like, oh, it's really unfortunate. I would hate to be in his shoes, that's for sure. But yeah, no, I just didn't cry like I wanted to. I really wanted to though, Stu.
Makes sense. So yeah, that makes sense actually. So like it was the kind of lightheartedness that made it so it was like harder to get like that like kind of compared to
Yeah,
like
because I
yeah,
because
compared to like
it's
Interstellar, which is
yeah,
depressing. So the
it's
easier, so
depressing.
it's a lot easier to like kind of cry at the depressing scenes because of
Yeah,
that.
it's just, it's easier to like get all in your feelings, in those type of depressive moments. But like for this one, I think I was having such a good time with the lighthearted aspect of what this movie was trying to be, that the emotional moments just didn't necessarily hit me. Great performances, really great performances. I can see why people would certainly cry from it, but maybe just a little bit too lighthearted. I think you said something really great at the beginning, in the sense of this movie is like has great accessibility, that anybody can literally just sit down, watch it, feel just as smart as the people on the television and on the screen, and the way how they're presenting things to us and explaining things to us. It really worked in that sense. And so maybe the accessibility, because it was so open, I think, for everybody to kind of come in, that maybe it's just I guess the emotional parts just didn't hit me as much as it wanted to. But again, the part that does hit me is just the idea of somebody, regardless of at what point in time, them eventually finding that reason to fight for something, or the reason for them to do what it is that they need to do, even though it was very reluctant and it took him a long time to get there. The fact that he was able to relate to having Rocky there, and having somebody that he cares for, and thinking of something outside of himself, and getting to that realization, I think was probably more powerful than emotional for me. But I thought it was a really great message that all heroes don't necessarily form the same way, and it takes other motivations in our lives to get us to that particular point. And I'm definitely glad it happened for Ryan Gosling's character, for sure. It did make me wonder, like I'm like, I wonder if Homeboy's even gonna go back to Earth. Like I just don't even picture him going back to Earth at this point in time.
No, at this point, I think at the very end, it feels like he was just kind of settling with his new life on this new world.
Yeah, that's what it certainly felt like to me. I was just like, bro, just take Rocky back home with you. But then, that's going to open up a whole nother can of worms, and it's going to turn into ET all over again. Want to experiment on bro, and regardless of saving the world, I just like the fact that he got his cake and he ate it too in this movie.
Mhm.
Saved the world, also survived, living on another planet, just chilling and teaching.
Yeah, and not without sacrifice, or I guess like not without adapting, because it wasn't like everything went back, and he got everything exactly how he wanted at the end. It's like he still doesn't get to go back to Earth. It's implied that he could later, but by the
If he
time
wanted
that
to, yeah.
he's able to, he may already be getting used to his new life on this new world. Um, it would be see, it would be kind of interesting because what would happen though if because they kind of show that with this new kind of way of powering ships, theoretically it is possible to travel from one world to another in a reasonable amount of time, that reasonable amount of time being like 10 to 15 years. So I think it's like kind of a cool idea, but then like you got to wonder, like if we were to like kind of make it a more constant thing between worlds, like you would have to make it so every trip would have a purpose. Like you couldn't waste like
Oh,
resources and time
mhm.
on that unless you had a very specific for each time. Not like in Star Trek or Star Wars where it's like visiting and trading with other planets is like simple as like driving a car from one city to another. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, yeah, that would have been interesting to explore a little bit more. Do you think there's a sequel in mind? Do you think there's a reason for a sequel, or no?
I don't think so. I think this movie is perfect the way it is. I don't think that said, I mean like I haven't read the book, so I don't know
Yeah,
if
me
there's
either.
anything that they build up in the books that could expand this world, but as a movie, I think just what we got in the film was perfect.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we both really enjoyed this movie. So one last time before we wrap up, our final grade for Project Hail Mary, an A minus. Acting 90%, editing 75%, directing 100, writing 82%, sound 9%, excuse me, 90%, and VFX 100%. So yeah, final grade an A minus. Let us know what you guys thought about Project Hail Mary, what you felt about it. I really am, Stuart, Stewart, Kiki and Lucas like, I don't know how I feel about this A minus, y'all. y'all tripping.
Do you think there will be a movie we'll get an A plus to by the end of the year?
I think I legit think, well, to be fair, I I think we had I think we've only had 2 A plus movies. But to be fair, I think I was the only one that graded Sinners, so I gave Sinners an A plus as the final grade, and y'all went crazy for Deadpool and Wolverine for some reason. Like, I think I asked like the whole group, not just me and you. I think I asked you, Indy, Reggie, Kevin. Like, I asked a bunch of people over at Hero Report on Facebook, and somehow Deadpool and Wolverine, I think, got an A plus. Somehow, I have no idea. I think those might be the only 2 movies. To be fair, Kiki and Luca, you can blame Stewart for that editing
Oh,
at a
for the editing part,
7.5.
yeah, blame me.
Yeah.
I gave that a 6.
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed the editing because, like, for me, I thought the pacing was really cool. And that is the opposite of what Stewart and I had, because I did appreciate like the reveal coming at the end, because it did make me like conceptualize the whole movie in my head, and like, oh my god, like it really worked for me. But yeah, I said, yeah, maybe the Sinner's question on Sunday. Yeah, feel free to ask me that question on Sunday. But yeah, I got an answer for you anyway, Kiki. But yeah, great movie overall. Loved it. You'll love it too. Won't disappoint. Go check it out in theaters if you haven't done so yet. Lord and Miller, Ryan Gosling, great collaboration. And this also makes me really excited for his collaboration with Sean Levy in regards to another director who's usually relatively solid in what he does, but also brings that level of like energy, and creativity and stuff. And so I am kind of curious to see. Ryan Gosling's going to be in space for a while, y'all. So we'll see how this turns out for him overall. But yeah, man, looking forward to it. Glad you enjoyed this movie, Stuart. Glad you did.
Yeah,
man.
glad you did too.
Yep. I'm trying to see what movies we might have for next week. Also, you know what, Stuart, I'm just gonna throw this out there. Since I don't know if we have any other live viewers with us outside of Kiki and Luca, but we will take movie recommendations. If you guys want to suggest the movie to us to certainly watch and grade, we can definitely do that for you guys. We do want to focus on new releases for the week when we talk about movies, whether that be in theaters and streaming services. So those will be the main focus. But if we ever have a week where there's not, 2 or 3 movies that we're going to be reviewing and we need extra content, we definitely will be taking viewer recommendations. Doesn't have to be a brand new movie. It could be an older movie. Any time period is certainly fine. But if you do have a movie recommendation for us, we'll definitely put it on the list and use it to fill those voids whenever there may be a slow week kind of at the box office. Are you down with that, Stuart? Still?
Definitely.
Okay.
And I'm like kind of looking at next weekend, and I don't really see much. They Will Kill You. What is that?
I would like us to review that movie.
Okay, cool.
It's got Zaza Beetz, I believe, in it. She was didn't she play Domino, I think, in Deadpool 2? I think I've seen her in a couple
Yes.
other things also. But yeah, They Will Kill You comes out on the 27th. That looks like a fun sort of bloody action kind of film. I don't know I'm not seeing anything else as of right now. That's really the only thing that I'm seeing for next week. So it might be a slow week. So we'll definitely talk about They Will Kill You. And then if there's any other new movies that might be releasing on streaming service, maybe we'll check that out. But yeah, guys, if you have any suggestions or anything like that, feel free to leave them in the comment section box below. And maybe we'll get to it for you guys. But that will do it for our movie talk this weekend. We'll certainly see you guys not only Sunday live for Hero Report, but we'll also see you guys next Monday as well for another Let's Talk Movies episode number 4. Stuart, 3 weeks in, buddy. 3 weeks
Yeah,
in.
I'm loving this, and I think we're like starting to figure out the format now. I think we're getting our formula down.
Yeah, I think it's working. I think it's working. Maybe we'll get hopefully we'll get some branding soon. But yeah, we'll regardless, we'll be here next Monday and hope you guys will be too. But until then, do us a big favor. As always, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.